Hello everyone, my name is Tandem Anderson. My colleagues Jennifer Alvarado, Madison Patton, and
Cebrina Willis.
to talk to you about environmental protection through sustainable tire waste management. Tire waste is a huge problem in Texas and in Dallas, where we're specifically focusing our initiatives. The issue with tire waste is it's common, it's hard to get rid of, and it poses a lot of threats that a lot of us aren't aware of. You'll see here our beautiful city of Dallas. It's home to 1.2 million people. And if you look further out to the whole Metroplex, including Fort Worth, there are 7.7 million people according to the 2022 US Census data. Along with that data, you could see that commuters travel on average at least 26 miles to work every day. 26 minutes to work every day. With that, it's no surprise that we create a lot of waste tires. The Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center calls tire waste the most outstanding waste in Texas. This is because it's long lasting, it's a breeding ground for mosquitoes, snakes, and other vectors. It's a significant fire hazard in two ways. First, they're very flammable, they burn long, they burn hard, and they create toxic fumes that are dangerous to the firefighters and the community. And then on top of that, they reduce property value, which is important to a lot of us in Texas. If left unabated, piles of waste only grow, which is the first law of iron waste, and it was cited by the Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center as something they really want to consider when talking about tires. Just this year in Dallas City, 1,640 tires were removed between January and March. Just in Dallas, just of 2024. Texans altogether scrap 28 to 42 million tires per year, and this is based on 2017 data from the Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center. And then in an interview with Mr. Fabian Ramirez of the Dallas City Code Compliance and Illegal Dumping Office, when asked why more of these tire generators just don't recycle them, the recycling centers are only capable of accepting up to 10 tires per drop-off, which is not very encouraging for the generators to make multiple trips for 10 tires at a time. Lin, Gao, Liang, Ming Yan, and He Hushan did a 2020 study on the long-lasting effects of tire waste and its health hazards. And they said improper disposal and storage of tire waste poses a serious threat to the environment and human health. As you can see, the tire waste is a huge problem and significantly unhealthy for us in the Dallas area and for the environment itself. Our goal is to effectively manage the hazards, promote sustainable practices that aren't just going to work for a while and drop off, ensure regulatory compliance, make sure that not only are we creating standards that make it easy and motivate the generators to drop it off, but we're actually following standards that have been researched and regulations created to ensure health and safety and sustainability. We'd like to educate the community. If more people are aware of the problem, more people can notice it and they could follow actions to prevent it. And then overall, all of this is to say that we want to protect the communities and the environmental health. We're going to do that by creating a policy that has strict regulations. The first step is the proactive regulations. With this, Dallas will create a mandatory tire disposal database. All tire generators, waste tire generators, such as tire shops, mechanics, and transporters of the tires will be required to register. This is different than the one that is Texas-wide, in that Dallas will be able to manage and audit it much better. Failure to register will result in fines. Falsified reporting will also result in fines. And then we would like to provide funding for recycling initiatives to increase recycling and not rely so much on landfills. Now the Sec 2 is a little bit more of a reactive policy if somebody does not follow those guidelines or those motivators. They will have an automatic court date if they are caught dumping. A review of business license, maximum dumping fine. Tires will be classified differently than some of the other frequently dumped waste in Dallas. And then continued can jeopardize or even revoke the business license, depending on, of course, the judge and some of their other practices. We'd like to establish some guidelines for businesses to dispose, recycle, and store the tires, for law enforcement to recognize dumping or potential dumping, and in order to report not only to the courts but to the code compliance and legal dumping offices, so that it could be addressed in a timely manner with them. And then finally, the citizens. If citizens know about it, they may be motivated to stop or prevent dumping that they know about, and be aware of some of the signs that they see. We'd also like them to be empowered to report it as well, and that way these hazards can be taken care of in a timely manner. Excuse me. Our next part of our policy, monitoring and enforcement. We'd like to double the amount of cameras that Dallas has to monitor and apprehend anybody who is dumping. The cameras that they do have seem to be working well, but there are just not enough of them to cover the amount of dumping that happens. If they were placed in some more frequent dumping centers, that would help the code compliance office take care of the issue. Next, increase patrols, not only by the law enforcement or police who regularly do the patrols, but include some of the other services, like the health department, to check for health hazards, and transportation offices and emergency offices as well. And then finally, for monitoring database audits, we mentioned before that the Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center has complaints about the Texas-wide database. It's too large and too widespread to be monitored and audited effectively. If we keep that within Dallas and perform regular audits through the database and on-site audits at these generator sites, they'll be more motivated to follow the regulations. Scrap rubber tires cannot be decomposed under environmental conditions and pose a serious threat. This is also from the 2020 study by Lynn and colleagues. Removing the tires from the streets and from dumping centers that can harbor disease is a big part of our initiative. But we would also like to address the fact that putting tires in the landfill only solves part of the problem. They do not decompose, and they also take up a lot of space there too. We would like to motivate recycling and provide some incentives for generators who decide to recycle their tires rather than landfilling them. Please enjoy this video that shows a few ways that tires can be reused, such as playgrounds, housing even, asphalt, and turf fields. And finally, collaboration, which is a very important part of our process. As we talked about, the Texas Illegal Dumping Resource Center has mentioned that Texas overall statewide does not have very many regulations. This means that it's left up to the cities. What we could do is work with other cities who have strong policies in place, such as Houston, and then other areas in the Metroplex, such as Forney, Grand Prairie, and find out what works for them, what they've learned along the way, and how we can motivate some of these cities who do not have policies in place to create some as well. Pair with emergency planning, such as emergency response, the health department, departments of transportation, and other state and city entities that are affected by the illegal dumping of tires as well. And then finally, include the citizens. Creating public awareness and describing the effects of illegally dumped tires and their hazards to the citizens will help them feel informed and motivated to take care of Texas and have some pride in Texas and Dallas. Create some education materials such as flyers, billboards, depending on funding, possibly even TV commercials. And then fund an awareness task force. This could include volunteers, employees from the Dallas City Code Compliance, community members, and then members from the health department and other departments that are worried about the health and safety of Texans. Now, we would like to thank you all for listening and showing interest in the tire dumping issue that is plaguing Dallas and Texas as a whole. And please be mindful of how much you drive. Try to use public transportation when available. And if you see any illegally dumped tires, please contact law enforcement to have them cleaned up to prevent further health hazards from happening. Thank you. Have a good weekend.